The Diary of Samuel Pepys, 11th of November 1660, Lord's Day. This morning I went to Sir William Batten's about going to Deptford tomorrow, and so eating some hog's pudding of my lady's making, of the hog that I saw a fattening the other day at her house, he and I went to church in our own new gallery, the first time it was used, and it not being yet quite finished, there came after us Sir William Penn, Mr. Davis, and his eldest son. There being no women this day, we sat in the foremost pew, and behind us our servants. And I hope it will not always be so, it not being handsome for our servants to sit so equal with us. This day also did Mr. Mills begin to read all the common prayer, which I was glad of. Home to dinner, and then walked to Whitehall, it being very cold and foul and rainy weather. I found my lord at home, and after giving him an account of some business, I returned and went to my father's, where I found my wife, and there we supped, and Dr. Thomas Pepys, whom my wife told me after I was come home, that he had told my brother Thomas that he loved my wife so well, that if she had a child he would never marry, but leave all that he had to my child. And after supper we walked home, my little boy carrying a link, and Will leading my wife. So home and to prayers and to bed. I should have said that before I got to my lord's this day, I went to Mr. Fox's at Whitehall, when I first saw his lady, formerly Mrs. Elizabeth Whittle, whom I had formerly a great opinion of, and did make an anagram or two upon her name when I was a boy. She proves a very fine lady, and mother to fine children. Today I agreed with Mr. Fox about my taking of the £4,000 of him that the king had given my lord. The 12th of November 1660. Lay long in bed today. Sir William Batten went this morning to Deptford to pay off the wolf. Mr. Comptroller and I sat a while at the office to do business, and thence I went with him to his house in Lime Street, a fine house, and where I never was before, and from thence by coach, setting down his sister at the New Exchange, to Westminster Hall, where I first met with Jack Spicer, and agreed with him to help me to tell money this afternoon. Hence to De Cretz, where I saw my lord's picture finished, which do please me very well. So back to the hall, where by appointment I met the comptroller, and with him and 3 or 4 parliament men I dined at Heaven, and after dinner called at Will's on Jack Spicer, and took him to Mr. Fox's, who saved me the labour of telling me the money by giving me £3,000 by consent. The other 1,000 I am to have on Thursday next, which I carried by coach to the Exchequer, and put it up in a chest in Spicer's office. From thence walked to my father's, where I found my wife, who had been with my father today, buying of a tablecloth and a dozen of napkins of diaper, the first that ever I bought in my life. My father and I took occasion to go forth, and went and drank at Mr. Standing's, and there discoursed seriously about my sister's coming to live with me, which I have much mind for her good to have, and yet I am much afeard of her ill nature. Coming home again, he and I, my wife, my mother, and Paul, went all together into the little room, and there I told her plainly what my mind was, to have her come, not as a sister in any respect, but as a servant, which she promised me that she would, and with many thanks did weep for joy, which should give me and my wife some content and satisfaction. So by coach home and to bed. The last night I should have mentioned how my wife and I were troubled all night with the sound of drums in our ears, which in the morning we found to be Mr. Davis's jack, but not knowing the cause of its going on all night, I understand today that they have had a great feast today.